Battle, Los Angeles. Okay, I'm not even going to beat around the bush here. This is, without hyperbole, one of the absolute worst films I have ever seen. It's definitely one of the most unpleasant film watching experiences that I've ever had. And the thing is, with a film like this, I go in with low expectations. I know what to expect from an action blockbuster. I mean, take something like Independence Day or Armageddon. You know, these films are typical blockbuster, blow up the world popcorn movies. They're cheesy and they don't take themselves seriously. And I think that's the most important thing, that they don't take themselves seriously. Like, you watch it with a pinch of salt, so to speak, and that allows you to have fun whilst you're watching it. And if I go into a film and that's what it's trying to do, you know, I'll take it for what it is and I'll enjoy it and I'll praise it as such. But with this film, there was no attempt at that whatsoever. I mean, they play this absolutely serious. They play it like it's... The tone of the film, I think, was very close to like some kind of modern day war film, like something like Black Hawk Down, for instance, where it's like this nitty gritty, you know, American Army type feel, and it's really... It doesn't allow you to enjoy it. It just has this gritty, unpleasant feel, and it's not... The tone of the film overall isn't enjoyable. The plot, not that there is much to speak of really. Aliens invade the world, and an American soldier leads a bunch of other people into Los Angeles in order to fight off the alien menace. And that's pretty much it. The rest of the film is just a series of explosions and action and nothing that you could at all engross yourself with. I mean, the story is terrible. It's boring. It's generic. If you've seen a single war film made after the year 2000, you've seen this. It's just devoid of any life or artistic sentiment. I mean, it's actually hard to say much about the plot at all because there's just so little that happens. The characters were cardboard cutouts. Their personalities and their dialogue, oh dear, their dialogue is just recycled from other war movies. It's so cliched. There were some scenes in the film where I actually thought they were going for the cheesy angle. Like, we're going to make this so bad it's good, but it doesn't even last long. Like, they'll say the really cliched lines and you're laughing, but then of course it dawns on you that it's meant to be serious, and then there's just like 20 minutes of guns blazing and action and explosions, and it gets tiresome. Okay, when I say the dialogue in this film is cliched, I mean that it is really cliched. Like, you have not only just seen this done to death a million times, you have seen this parodied a million times. I mean, some of the dialogue and the exchanges that you see in this film, it beggars belief, really, how someone could think to insert them into what is intended as a serious, supposedly harrowing war film. That's what it essentially is. I mean, some of the dialogue, it's the typical, "Oh, you go on without me. No, I never leave a soldier behind." And I mean, my God, there are... I mean, the soldiers in this film, all they ever do is talk in army language, like army jargon. You know, they never lose their composure, which people do in situations like this, in extreme situations. I'm sure even soldiers, people that have been trained, do lose their composure, do lose their cool, and that can make for interesting viewing. That gives characters, you know, dynamics, that makes characters interesting. But the characters in here are just recycled. They're stock. You know, they're the same things that you see in army video games. You know, it's just, there is no attempt at creativity in portraying the characters at all. Right, with regards to how the film was shot, I touched upon the tone earlier, and when I said that it was very much the tone of like a modern day, well, like post 2000 war film, just with its like really gritty feel that you don't want in a film that you're going to enjoy. And by that I mean like you don't go into a film like The Hurt Locker or Black Hawk Down and expect a good time and a good laugh and good popcorn fun. But with a film like this, a blockbuster, you do expect that, and that's certainly what it was marketed as. So the tone was a complete misfire on the part of the filmmakers. But with regards to how the film was shot, okay, there was a technique used in this film that I've seen used in many other action films of the past decade, and when I see it in other action films, I do consider it obnoxious. Like, it really tires me. I'm sick of seeing it. But in this film, they didn't just use it, they used it in pretty much every single scene. I'm talking, of course, about the shaky cam, like where literally every shot involves some zooming in and zooming out of the camera, or where it's getting shaken about the place to the point where you're sitting watching the film and you're getting disorientated, really, with all this, just this incongruous movement of the camera, as if it's being filmed by Michael J. Fox. It's so tiring, it's so painful. I mean, these films should come with a health warning, for people that suffer from seizures. It's this constant movement of the camera. I mean, you can make a scene feel, intense or suspenseful or tension filled without resorting to shaking the camera about. It is so obnoxious, and I'm sick of seeing it. But this film used it more than any other film I think I've ever seen. Just with the tone of the film, I remember when I was watching it thinking that it was the kind of thing you'd expect on like the Sci-Fi Channel or Channel 5, just one of these really awful, low-budget, cheesy sci-fi films. But it doesn't even have the fun that some of those films have. Like, some of those films you can watch and you can laugh at because they have a bit of, they're self-mocking, they're fully realised. This film, I don't think it really knew what it was. I think that was its biggest problem. It totally misunderstood the action blockbuster genre. It's trying to be a gritty war film, and that is not the type of film that this film's audience were looking for. I mean, I don't even know how I've managed to summon the energy to review this. It's just so devoid of anything worthy of artistic praise. And as I said, I do think this is one of the worst films I've ever seen. Certainly one of the most unpleasant film watching experiences I've ever had. I mean, it really is just depressing. I mean, there's no plot, there's no character development, there's no tension, there's no humour, there's no energy, there's no humanity, there's no self-realisation, no concept of art or even basic decorum. It's just an ugly mess of a film. And I was thinking I was going to give it a 2 out of 10 because I thought, okay, the special effects, whilst they're generic, it's obvious that they did have a lot of effort put into them. But design artists like that do come cheap. I can't bring myself to praise a god awful film because of its effects. So yes, I do think this film is a good candidate for a 1 out of 10, and that's the lowest rating that I've ever given when reviewing films on here. So Battle Los Angeles, 1 out of 10. It's just really not worth poisoning your mind with.